Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Live, Love, Laugh, the podcast. Tonight is our premiere episode, and I'm very excited. This has been a long time coming, and we've been working at it and working at it and working at it, and now we're finally here, and you ain't got nothing else to do, so you might as well sit back, relax, enjoy the content. I'm the co-host, Sean Wins.
And I'm the other half, AJ Foodie. And we're just here to make sure everything is popping like we said it was gonna be. So we're gonna have a great show, a great episode for you guys tonight. We have a guest speaker, Dr. Calvin Mann. We don't want to forget that, okay? And he is on the scene so that he can let us know how do we reactivate the village, all right? And we're just really excited because we've been working our way up to this day, and it's here. First episode airs on Monday, and we're just excited to share that with you guys.
I'm very excited. You excited, AJ?
Super excited. I can't wait to interview our first guest. And like I said, he's gonna drop some nuggets with us today that's gonna really enlighten our village, enlighten the community. And not only am I excited about starting this episode, about airing our first episode, but I'm excited that we have someone who is going to put some words of wisdom into our community, because it's been a little rocky lately. We were talking about a few incidents where we had children who died and mothers who failed and fathers who are failing, and now we have somebody who's gonna kick it with us a little bit about how do we reactivate the wrongs, how do we reactivate the village.
So with that being said, we're going to kick this off. We're going to get the party started. But before we do that, we're going to need you to like, subscribe, and share on all the different various platforms: Apple TV, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Did I miss any?
I believe that you got most of them, but Patreon is very important, because on Patreon you get to see the bonus footage that you won't see anywhere else. We're gonna give you everything that you might be missing on YouTube, and it might be a little deep, so don't forget to subscribe to Patreon to Live, Love, Laugh, the podcast.
So sit back, relax, and join us.
Y'all trying to catch a vibe? Bet. Don't look nowhere else, because when it comes to vibes, I'm the plug. Hey Detroit, so they say Black History Month is almost over, but we all know better than that. So here's a few spots that I picked out that I would love for you to check out. The Detroit Institute of Arts, the Detroit Public Library, the Detroit Historical Museum, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, and of course, the Motown Museum.
Y'all, so let me go back, because you guys are back with us on Live, Love, Laugh, the podcast, and we have with us Dr. Calvin Mann, and he is dropping some valuable nuggets here with us today, and I hope you guys are paying attention and listening to these nuggets, because I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, I'm getting some aha moments. How are you? Are you getting those moments?
Absolutely. It's obvious, some of the stuff he just talked about, them putting the black male out of the homes, since the 1970. I read that men being out of the home and the crime rate in the black community, it coincided with one another. And we've been on that path ever since.
And that must be like the new Section 8 or something, because I know that they say if you get Section 8, you got kids, a man can't live with you, only like the mother, and it's for mothers and the kids. It's not for families, like if you got a husband or your boyfriend can't live with you. So yeah, it just adds up that way.
Well, you can take it deeper, right? And understand, and this is probably the first time I'm talking about it, but understand the damage that was being done to the DNA. The man carried the seed of life. I'm the seed carrier. So whatever I plant, in whatever soil I plant my seed in, has to be able to be cultivated and present the proper nutrients, a child, right? We didn't know how important men were to the essence of a woman who was giving birth. Now, back in the day, we used to hold a baby up in Africa and all over this world. Indigenous places, when the child was born, the father come in, he can't speak English, but he was speaking the language of his natives, and they would hold the father up. They hold the child up. So when we took away that from the woman, what do we have in Michigan? We had the highest infant mortality rate next to Cleveland in the country. What do we also have? What matches that? The single household. So if you have a 70% single household rate and you got a 70% infant mortality rate, right? They want to use medicine and try to help. No, the person who carries the seed, which is the father, must be present, because I bring essence to you and that child so the child can be born. We're literally killing our children with absent fathers, right? So we don't really have a certain thing, because then the television and the media give you all these pictures of other fathers. And when you start getting fathers, right, in the different places, society decided they want to attack them, right? When their whole society, when you're talking about we go in ours hard, but we go in there soft, so we go in on Bill Cosby. But listen, Bill Cosby was telling y'all in the 70s what was going on. But you didn't appreciate him because it wasn't coming from a woman. It was coming from a man. And that's what the culture has lost, understanding and listening to the man. And so successful marriages with successful fathers, there's a certain amount of compliance between the two for healthy children. Now, what does that look like? If my children are born in this situation, but somebody else's children is born in a different situation, and how do we come together, right? So where's the father? When you ask, where's the father? All these cases you're talking about, everybody say, where's the father? As soon as the father is discovered, he's immediately attacked, right? And so when we get into these places, what's wrong with the boy? You know he wants his father, but because a check come with him, or maybe he can't have access. So the father has to go down to the court system. He got to knock on the door, fight, when we should have a mass movement on co-parenting to prevent our children from going into the very system that you be saying, right? We'll say this, we can't stick together, or we don't get along, but you stick together with that pouring into that system.
So Dr. Mann, can you tell us a little bit about your mission to empower fathers? Is that what this is about? The mission to empower the fathers that you have. Have you taken fathers under your wing? Are they absentee fathers, or are they fathers that need a little more guidance, or what is that movement about?
So in our mentoring program, we use fathers because it takes 12 mentors to equal one father. We'll bring a father in. We'll take a father where he's at, because I know when I put that father in our mentoring program, we put him through training, and that father sees and helps these other kids, the father gets better too. So a broken man can become a good father. But society, again, when we start looking at the pieces that he brings, see, the essence of a father is really different. Remember when you probably didn't heard this a bunch of times. His father, all he got to do is say stop, and he stopped. Notice that?
Right, because I would say, we could talk to your dad about that, you know what I mean, or something like that. And it might be a little form of embarrassment or shame on the child when the father have to, come in and handle the situation, and makes them get better, because nobody wants to disappoint their dad.
Well, the father is different. He comes different. The father is the preparer. The father cultivates. A healthy father is invaluable, right? When they say, how do we reactivate the village? Every man that is a father should stand out on his porch, and as far as he can see right and as far as he can see left, he should be involved in his community, right? That's a start, right? Where there are fathers, you will find smiles, food, happiness, right? You will find that. The problem is we have so many people becoming fathers at a young age that they don't have the skill set or the tools to understand how valuable they really are. Most fathers don't know that they're valuable. So the boy is not going to know if he's not in the vicinity. I'm a big proponent. I really like the fact that the conversation has started about DNA testing at birth. The man knows his seed. We forget that. And so men are very quick to recognize there's something wrong with him. This kid might not be mine. And when they did the DNA test, the CVS DNA kits a few years back, right? I think it was like 20, somewhere in there. 40% of those kids came back. The in-house father was not the father.
Wow, 40%.
So, yeah. So the DNA testing has to become, we have to get order, which is what we talk about. We talk about order. The boy becomes a man, the man becomes a husband, and the husband becomes a father.
So Dr. Mann, I'm going to push back a little bit, sort of play the devil's advocate for a second.
Yes, sir.
You're talking a lot about fathers and men and boys, and in this society, somebody would say, well, what about us women? We the most educated. When we talk about black women, we're the most educated.
Yeah, let's go.
We got jobs. We making a lot of money. We pretty successful.
Yes, sir.
So what are you talking about?
Okay. You got a son? You don't want the best for your son? So you can have all that education, then why are black boys last in reading? You got a son. You teach. You got a job. You do all these things. Then why are black boys last in reading? Why are black boys last in employment? Why black boys no longer dream? Why are black boys bowing out? So, yeah, you got all of that. But guess what? You out front. And you're the example in front of me. So I don't see no man. Right. In education, you only had 2% of males anyway, black males. And the teacher role is falling back. And guess why men get out of teaching? Because of them same women. They don't want to be always getting called down to the office to come and be the hero of the school. The only reason why I'm in the school is I got to go down to break up all the fights. I don't get a chance to be the teacher. There are some very successful teachers and men who teach, but there are also some educators who completely stepped away because of that dynamic. What has to happen is order. Period. We don't even in the voting, right? What was being yelled and screamed by black men? No, y'all don't have a plan for us. Right? So you lost some men. We still voted 83%. Right? But what did the sisters do right behind that? They took a picture and set themselves on a cliff by themselves as if they were the only ones who was in charge of saving democracy. You forgot 83%. So the arrogance of that, you just told the whole world that you alone. You don't have no protection. So,
so do you think that there's a reason why black women feel that they aren't protected
Yes.
by black men? And what would you say to women who are in it alone, who are raising boys? Because I mean, I know that for me, it's not about the education as far as a single mother. To me, I don't see how I can teach my son how to be a man because I'm not a man. So I can't teach him that manly aspect of life. You know,
Right.
I can teach him how to be a man that I would want.
Right.
You know, the type of man that I would want.
Right.
But I really can't teach him how to be a everyday responsible man because I'm not that. But what would you say to women who are in it alone? They don't have a man. They had a child, is here. The father not coming back. You know, how would she go about raising her son in a way that he's not so emotional, in a way that he is a responsible man, in a way that a woman that becomes his woman won't have to continue raising him?
So first of all, you need to understand that what is happening to boys is at the hands of women. Boy goes to school. Now, there are a lot of successful people. For those women, there's a village. Do you invest in mentoring? Do you invest in different things for him to go into, right? Or have you invested in a video game and put that in his room and gave him that, and now he's secluded? And seclusion will create a lot of devilish things. So in that process, if you're paying attention, all these boys got video games and phones. Right? She'll go to the school and fight if you say something wrong. But where we're making the mistake is when the child was born, assuming that I can be both the mother and the father. You can never be a father. I don't care who out there you hear. I want you to take this one with you. A woman can never be a father.
I want you to look into that camera right
A
there,
woman
Dr.
can
Mann,
never
and say yes.
be a father.
And that have
Right.
to be repeated because, you know, so many women on Father's Day, you see social media pages where women are saying a happy Father's Day to me, you know, because they feel like they're doing both roles just because there's no father in the home.
You got to remember, people get addicted to feeling good and patting themselves on the back. Right? Society has a very good way of really recognizing the black mother. I had one. I had a father, I had a mother, but I had uncles, I had neighbors, I had men, right? So in that process, my village was cultivated. When my mother and father split, I had Mr. Cecil, Sonny Man, Mr. Thornton, right? I had a godfather. I had Mr. Thomas. I had men, right? So when we decided that we was going to disrespect the culture and sell hard drugs into the culture and eat off the culture, we begin to reap, because who carries the seed? The man. So now what happens was the women locked into education, and because that was a destiny to be able to take care of the children. It was also a way out of the mindset of poverty. Many women went into education because it just was the right thing, and they could, because women are brilliant. This is never to take away from the brilliance. When we come together, man and woman, right? That's where we're going to get into that conversation about the pilot, co-pilot. God made us men visionaries, right? That's a huge thing for a man to discover himself. One of the biggest components to our culture that's missing is that switch. When a man becomes a father, he has elevated himself beyond manhood. And we still downplay the fatherhood. And that's where your problem is. If you got appreciation for your children, you should always have appreciation for the father. But once you start taking these fathers in the child support system, and they being harassed, and you're chasing them for checks, and you need to pay a bill, why Just give them to the Father. But we don't want to do that because we feel good by everybody telling us, you're a great mom.
So do you think it's fathers though that don't want to take the kids?
It's mothers that don't want to take the kids. It's humans that don't want to take the kids. We just talked about stories where we got kids in the worst possible position, right? For taking the kids and having custody and all of that. But the truth is, kids need both parents.
So in doing this work with your organization, and you're introducing these concepts that you're talking about here tonight,
Yeah.
when you're introducing them to the people that need them, are you getting buy-in?
Oh yeah, we got a 98% parental involvement
Wonderful.
in our mentoring program, right? We paused it because they wasn't investing. They don't invest in mentoring. We think that a man who gives up his time and pour in and help your child become, we think that's supposed to be free.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go to the spa, buy hair, we'll go do a whole lot of things. But investing in my son for a mentor? Nah, come on now.
So tell us about your leadership development for boys program.
We go 14 weeks.
Mhm.
In our 14 weeks, our Emmy Future Leaders program, which was certified by the University of Michigan. And the lady specifically said that our mentoring program wasn't just for black kids, as they were certifying us.
Mm-hmm.
And she's right. But if the black ones I'm going to work with, for sure.
Right.
But when you get into, and I work with all, I've had them all. I've had every nationality you can think. Mentor, coach, the whole nine. We do 14 weeks. We bring them in. The kids come in, they be emotional, whatever the case may be. We take them, right? The mothers, they got to fill out forms, the whole nine, so we can get the data, right? Right away, we begin the detachment process. Soon as you finish that, you got to go. Because the boy is so dependent on his mom that he will come up consistently just trying to get her validation.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to let him go. You got to get out. Right? Then there's fathers who mentor that's in the building. Right? And so we go through 11 pillars of character. We taught them the Arabic language. They have to do community service. We get them in shape. In that 14 weeks, we have boss sessions, building our sons, where the parents come in. You can't bring me a kid and I don't get access to the child, to the parents, right? Then there's the parent day. Then we bring them in and we bring in the financial literacy people. So we might have Chase Bank, we might have Huntington, but I brought in one of my former players that sets up these financial vehicles. So our boys get to sell our product, to put money into this financial mutual fund, stocks, bonds, right? So that's in 14 weeks. By the end of the 14 weeks, we got a different kid. And in some cases, we've had kids that come, might be 2-3 seasons, and they gone, they fly. But it's because of the fathering and the mentoring in the camaraderie. So they get a peer partner, right? And no peer partner, they have to get to know each other. And then they're challenging each other through the push-ups, the workouts. Then we have breathing circles where we can take that trauma down, mm-hmm. right? And so in 14 weeks, generally by the end of 14 weeks, some kids need more, but generally by 14 weeks, we've taken a lot off the boy.
What's your age range? What age are you accepting the young men?
So we take them 14 to 24, mm-hmm. but right now we got 100 boys on the waiting list.
Wow, that's pretty good. So how many boys have actually come
but that's
through your
for
program?
Our reading program, right?
Okay.
We got a reading program called Reading is Life.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a test pilot. And in that test pilot, so now we did a test group. Now we're asking for a pilot. So we got a crowdfunding campaign going, right? We have 100 boys aged 3 to 7 on the waiting list. To tell you how powerful what we got done in 6 weeks is mind-blowing. We had one boy read 84 books in 6 weeks. We had 4 boys read 53 books in 6 weeks. All the way down to the 4-year-old whose mother showed up consistently, regardless to if he was whiny or not. Eventually he broke, and she showed up every time, took the information to apply to that 4-year-old, although he was very emotional. But by the end of the program, he was able to start participating the whole 9.
So this mentorship program is inside of schools, correct?
No, we're not in school.
Not in schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you tried?
We've done school contracts.
What's the relationship there between what you guys are doing and the school?
It's not the same because you don't necessarily get the access to the parent. So the very next contract we get, we're demanding access to the parent because we got to get everybody on the same page. That's what we found. We've had boys 8, 10 years old cook whole meals. Like, we're teaching the boys, this is what you're supposed to do, and teaching the parents, get out the way, right?
Let them do it.
And teach them. These are moments that this is where you really want the kid to soar, so the child can be everything that we pour in. You can get the results. So my kids have gone on, done some amazing things.
One of the things that I think is missing in the community is the ability to resolve conflicts.
Yes, sir.
Is there a conflict resolution piece in your program?
Yeah.
Okay.
All day, right? But the way who better to solve conflict than daddy,
Absolutely.
right? That's what fathers teach. That's another thing, right? Fathers are not so emotional. Your father is going to prepare you. We prepare our boys. So our boys do push-ups, sit-ups, the whole. So physically, you don't really want to mess with none of our kids, right? Our kids affect 1 to 3 other children in their school. So they end up collecting other kids and leading them and pouring into them and being an example. The issue in the culture with education and everything is that we decided that the kids who couldn't read and the kids who wasn't so smart or whatever became the bullies of kids who were smart. And so we started making fun of being smart. And what a dumb thing that is, right? Because then our innovation went down. And so just to make other kids, we have more kids now in education with emotional issues, right? So schools, our kids are going to be behind because the schools have to deal with all these emotional issues during the school.
So when you talk about emotional issues and conflict resolutions, do you think for men? So I know that a lot of men have a problem crying, like they think they're weak when they cry, or they can't express themselves because they might get looked down upon. Is that a problem, or is that not a problem? Are we supposed to teach our sons to hold those type of emotions in, or do you think when they release that type of emotion and they can't correctly solve a problem because they're too emotional? So it's kind of a mixed bag. What would you say is the best way to teach a boy how to be a man and have emotions, but not let the emotions take flight, like ruin a situation?
The village. Everybody has an uncle that's doing well. Everybody has a cousin that's doing well. Maybe you can't necessarily go to them. You go to a mentor. I was telling a parent today, I don't care if your son don't play, put him on football. I'm a firm believer that you're able to shape them better around men. Now you have to find a quality program, because some of these programs have lost their way. The leaders, they're not practical. They cuss all the time. They mess with the mamas, right? In my 40 years of work, I never messed with none of them kids' mama. You can't mess with them. But these guys, they seem to think to prey on the mother because they playing the son. These are problems that create more problems, because now you done came into this kid's life, and what did you do? You walked out.
Right.
You just came to hit. Now you done walked out this kid's life. So the second man then walked out his life. So you gotta stop that. That's another thing that has to be cut off, because that's led to fields being shot up, right? That's led to people having issues with one another out in the open in front of the kids. So you got to stop that. But more importantly, more men have to be involved, but the culture has to celebrate, value, uplift, and empower the fathers. Instead of running them down, right? They got to be taught some different things, right? You have to, fathers, we got a high literacy, which is why we started that Reading is Life. And we've discovered that this area, right, black children are 32 points below everybody else in the state of Michigan in reading proficiency.
Black children or black boys?
Black children.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Right? So if we got into the black boys, it's going to be even worse, right? Black boys are 14 times likely to be kicked out of daycare than he is high school.
Wow.
So when you get into these phenomenals, who's building, who's turning our children, who's turning our boys into these, putting them in these gangs, and it's the home. It's the parents, where we are not on the same page to raise our son. When a boy is born, right? When a boy is born or a child is born, right? If I'm there, the father's there, the child comes out the womb, he's listening for that voice, that male figure. The girl as well, but that boy is really looking. That's God, right? And so then we start talking about who shapes the language of a child, the daddy. Who shapes the brain of a child, the daddy. Mm-hmm. So what we've done essentially, which is why our mentoring program is so hot, is because we use daddy.
Right. Well, I know it's a lot of, programs where my child, she goes to a school where they do like use the fathers. They open the door for the kids when they get out the car. And, it's a lot of volunteer men. So how do you go about finding the fathers or the men to mentor in your program?
I got a bunch of them. I got a group called Good Fathers Only. I got fathers everywhere.
So people would just volunteer. How can they call you? How can they volunteer to be a part of your circle?
Well, they go to Good Fathers Only and sign up. It's right there. The application is right on goodfathersonly.com and sign up. That's just one of the ways we train them, the whole nine, to be in the mentoring program, or they can go mentor, right? My wife is constantly wanting to launch a mentoring school, mm-hmm. where the men can come and get these tools so they can go be better mentors. But our area, right? Last year, we're at a funding event. Mitch Albom, Mitch Albom, mm-hmm. He asked all the funders on stage, what are y'all going to do for boys? And they said nothing. There wasn't a clarity on what they would do for boys. Why? Who's eating off that boy? We ain't talking just the black boy. These white boys out here dying, pills, right? These Hispanic boys, they dropping dead left and right. We're not just talking about, I work with all of them, but we're not just talking about the black boy. The problem that is happening to these boys in this country is astounding. And so therefore, it's happening to the men. And so therefore, it's happening to the husband. And so therefore, it's happening to the father. And if we don't understand the dynamics of that.
Dr. Mann, when you say who's eating off of these boys, I need you to unpack that a little bit. I know what you mean, but for the folks at home or listening to this, unpack that a little further. What does that mean? Who's eating off the boys?
CPS, foster care, prisons, juveniles, law enforcement, judges, lawyers. I would amass, if we could do the research I would amass that if we really did the research, that the black boy has educated and built plenty of people into wealth. I would amass that there are several different counties and organizations and communities and everything that has eaten off that boy.
Right.
I would amass that there are different. The parenting model has eaten off the demise of that boy. You see? So when I'm saying that, remember Black innovation, right? We've done some amazing things in this country. When you walked into an invention spot, there was a lot of black men in there. We did a lot of great things. We've been experimented on. Huh? Well, they told us no child left behind. Who got left behind?
All the black boys and children, all the black kids got left behind.
No, it's not just them. It's what we know. But No Child Left Behind created the mass shooters. No Child Left Behind created these boys in overdose. I buried one of my basketball players. I went to his funeral. He OD'd. Chad.
Wow.
He OD'd, right? Great kid, right? White kid. Gone. When I talked to his mama, she said she had to bury at least 20 of his friends from opioids. This boy crisis, for us, it affects us when I say the black boy crisis. But there's a boy crisis across this country, right? So who gonna marry the women? Who masculine now?
It's the women. But Dr. Mann, like that's a whole nother show that we gonna get into. And I know before we go, I want to ask you, because I see you blinged out in your EMIY gear, and I want you to tell us, what is this? What is EMIY?
So ME Apparel is what started this whole thing, right? And ME, we put this in 7 countries and from the trunk. And we now are moving it to a for-profit to, it's been on Ron's House, NFL Network, MTV, BET, Michigan State Basketball, Western Michigan Basketball, Iowa State Basketball, professional athletes, you know what I mean? But now we're moving it into the for-profit arena to build something where the message is clear for all of us, for everybody. We're the architects, and we're the leaders of change. And so we can't allow this society to say that we're not valuable when we know we're valuable, right? So, excuse me. So you can get this at ME Apparel. Like I print for other people, but we're taking our brand to another spot. We're going to launch something for our Respect Day coming up in March. Our Respect Day is April 6th every year, but we taking it and we're going to blow it up beyond, because everybody needs that message right now with what's taking place. Respect me, respect you, respect we, right? Self-respect is the beginning of change. When you understand that we have to have self-respect, we can make the difference that needs to be made. And as the brother has said, how do we reactivate the village? Well, we reactivate it literally, as our work is, we seed in the lives of boys to the restoration of family. That's where you start. Order.
Okay.
That's how you start. But our brand, yeah, you can get that all day.
I wanted to ask you, this is a two-tier question.
Yes, sir.
You're an author. You're working on another book.
Yes, sir.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
So this year, I'm releasing a book. I'm thinking either right around Father's Day or for my 60th birthday. Right? 60? I'll be 60 in September. Yeah.
You know what they say.
Right, don't crack. It don't crack.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have 8 brothers and sisters, and we laugh a lot.
Okay.
We really laugh a lot. We really entertain each other a lot on the phones, text. I love my family, right? So my book is called All Ingredients Count, because I am not here. People see me and don't realize
the people that's involved, or the people that helped me, or the people that has poured into me, or like I'm not here. And one of the stories is about my godfather Jim Curry, who gave me a whistle to coach. Without Jim Curry, I'm not here. Hands down, I don't think I'm here. Right? So I say that because all ingredients do count. If you acknowledge the people, from the janitors to the cook to the teacher that gave you that one positive message, to the people that told you could do it, right? The drunk at the spot that said, you look nice today, right? When you just needed to hear it. I was in D.C., and I'm walking into a convention, and this lady is sitting on the steps by herself. And I said, well, hey, baby, how you doing? She said, I'm okay. I said, well, you're going to have that great day today. You know that, right? And she started crying. Sometimes the right set of words can help somebody. Melvin Dakers is one of my fathers. And the Lord told him to pull over. It was a man walking. And he pulled over. And he offered the man a ride. And as Mel is riding, the guy got in. And they began to talk. He said, man, I'm so glad because I was thinking about killing myself. There are tons of people out here. Suicide is such an alarming thing right now within the cultures, this community, the nation, the people, right? That it passed 1 million people worldwide commit suicide. Boys 5 to 11 are number one in suicide. When we started a Smash Suicide campaign back in 2018, and we started using my children's book, Cares, to tell the story, where is that at? When have you, right? We talking about it. We put billboards all over Michigan. We put billboards in Louisiana, Chicago, the whole nine, to sound the alarm. Boys 5 to 11 are dying by suicide.
Wow.
So when you're looking for people in numbers and men, where are they? Where are the men? Men have retreated. Men began retreating in the 80s. So where are the men now? If you pull up, try this one morning. Just pull up at a stop sign or pull in a gas station and sit still and watch how many men you see walking, getting off a bus, and how they body language, how their head is down. That's because you've not valued me. You've not valued me, and so you reap what you sow.
Dr. Mann, I need you to do a couple of things for us before we wrap things up. But I want you to tell our guests, tell our viewers how they can contact you, email you, reach you in order to be a part of your mentorship program, just get in contact with you so they can, mothers, so they can help their sons, fathers, so they can be a part of the movement. Anybody, how do they reach you? How do they get involved?
So first of all, they can contact emmyworld.com, EMIYworld.com, to see what we're up to, right? Again, mentoring is paused with us for right now, right? Our biggest drive is that Reading is Life campaign to raise $308,000 to take care of those 100 boys we got on the waiting list, because that pilot is huge. For speaking engagements, it's calvintman.com. And I'm looking to speak to early fathers, new fathers, and national, right? I'll be in D.C. on June 1st through 3rd at the International Fathers Conference talking about fatherhood value. But I'm looking to spread that message more and more because a lot of men don't know. And so before we check out, I'm going to give you one big one that you have no idea, and that the culture, if you can't appreciate fathers after this, then you just a hater. Flat out. When a child has a father from birth to 9, when a father's in his child's life from birth to 9, the child lives longer. That's science. Mama can't do that. Only daddy can do that. God made fathers funky.
Let's get funky.
Dr. Mann, one last thing. There's a rumor that you might be considering running for mayor. You want to talk about that?
Right, we heard it through the grapevine.
Well, there has been some talk, right? But I don't think that the city is ready for that. For somebody that really wants to come in and talk family and culture and making sure that every child has, an education, a quality education, and that the parents are fully involved in schools, and that we take some of that emotion off our children. I don't think we're ready for that. I think because, again, as I was saying, we are in pockets eating off these kids. And so until we decide that that's the direction that we're going to move the city, right, that will most definitely reactivate the village by moving into a unification that every child is important, regardless to who it is. That every boy, girl, sister, brother, mother, father, auntie, uncle, granddaddy, and grandmama are important enough to change the trajectory of failure on the culture. And I don't think they're ready for that. And so I would love to run, but my wife, she's been saying that for years, but for me, they're not ready for that. They don't want to invest in boys. Why would they want to invest in me talking about family and changing the city from what it is to that?
So what I hear you saying is,
yeah,
if you got a hold to the right team who, made it a point to make sure that Detroit was ready, you would run.
It'd take a lot of money.
That's what we're trying to do. We go, maybe you can get that money up. You know what I mean?
Nah.
Maybe that.
Hey, I would be
surprised. It can happen. I would like to see a mayor who can, invest in families and, encourage men. I mean, because Detroit, it's mostly black people here. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't we want to, strengthen our families? Because that's the first thing, is strengthening our community.
But you have to be willing to give up something. Now, what are you willing to give up, mama?
Well, you got to tell us what to give up. That's what
the
leadership come in.
Right, and so when you tell them to give up, right, because I'm not predatory, so I had no interest in preying on women at all, right? That was my 20s and my 30s, maybe a little bit of my 40s, right? But the truth of the matter is, this is where we're headed, and where I would like to see us. Oh man, that would be unbelievable if we decided that that's what we was going to invest in, right? And then we could take care of some of the stuff that unions want and the different people want, and making them feel cared for. We could take care of some of that stuff, but the corruption is so heavy and the lies are so big. So for me, that's like throwing a piece of meat to piranhas, for me, because if I'm coming in the door, I'm not the one that fold or run away or right. I'll go toe to toe, right? But that's just who I am. That's how I was raised, as a small little chubby boy off of 8 Mile, right? But in the process, no, I ain't running unless they.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Just thought we'd ask.
Right.
Saw it out there.
Because it's a fly on the wall. But thank you so much, Dr. Mann, for coming here with us today and dropping some valuable nuggets. I hope you guys got the message. And tell us your email one more time, your website one more time.
For speaking is calvintmann.com. And for the work is EmiWorld, EMIY world.com. And copy some of that apparel. Support.
Right, so that we can raise that money so that Dr. Mann can run for mayor. And you guys heard it right here on the Live, Love, Laugh podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
All right. He has spoken.
He is spoken.
He running.
We hey, get the apparel so we can get a mayor who is gonna invest in our families, y'all. We gotta do it. We gotta do what we gotta do, right?
Well,
Thank you, Dr. Mann.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
Mann.
thanks for having me.
All right. That's it, y'all. That's our first episode.
Go on YouTube and subscribe. The show is called Live, Love, Laugh, the podcast.